Hi guys. In this video, we will multiply radical expressions. So we're going to start easy and then we're going to add on some variables throughout. So when we have a radical or a square root raised to the power of 2, so from the previous video, we talked about how if the index and the exponents are the same, they can simplify. So that's why when you square a square root, you can just simply simplify that. That drops down to a 5. So square root of 5 squared, that's just 5. Okay, this one, we're going to multiply what's inside the square root. So simply 3 times 5, that's square root of 15. Now you need to ask yourself, can I simplify that square root? And in this case, no, because 15 is just 3 times 5, and they're both prime. There's nothing I can do to simplify that any further. Next one, I have 15 times 5. So 15 times 5 is 75. Okay, so I have square root of 75. Well, when I look at 75, I can do 25 times 3 is 75. And I know 25 is a square root. Okay, you have two ways to go about this one. You can go to y equals and type in 75 divided by x squared. And you can see that you can simplify as 5 square root of 3 like we've been doing. And the other way could be you can rewrite this as square root of 25 times square root of 3. And then here you can simplify square root of 25 and get 5 square root of 3. Either way, you get to the same answer that we had from this trick right there in the calculator. So the next one, I have 10 times 14 is 140. I can go over there, use my handy dandy trick, and simplify that right there. It's 2 is square root of 35. And I know 35, I can only do 7 times 5, and they're both prime. I cannot simplify that any further. The next one, I have square root of 35 times square root of 35 x to the 4th power. So we're going to multiply these guys. Okay, so at this point, I have square root of 35 squared, because 35 times 35 is 35 squared, times x to the 4th power. I can simplify them independently like we did in the previous video. I can do square root of 35 squared. I can simplify that just down to 35. And then the next one, I'm going to simplify square root of x to the 4th power. And that'll be just x to the 2nd power. And then everything simplified, everything came out of the root. So final answer here, just 35. My whiteout disappeared. So sorry about that. So 35x squared. Fully simplified right there. This looks really ugly. Sorry. Okay, now I have this really weird number right there in the middle of my whole thing. So you cannot put what's inside the radical with whatever is outside the radical. You can only multiply what's inside the square root by what's inside the square root, and whatever's outside the square root remains outside. So we're going to leave that 6 alone for now. Leave that alone. And then I'm going to multiply 2 times 150. So square root of 300. And then I have g squared. Right here off to the side, let's go ahead and simplify square root of 300 and simplify square root of g squared. Square root of 300 right there, 10 square root of 3. And here, square root of g squared is g. So now I have 6 That was on the outside. Now I have this 10 from over here, this g from over here, and I have square root of 3. Now I need to multiply everybody. So final answer will be 60g square root of 3. Couple more. Multiply those. So I have square root of 550. I don't have another f, so leave that f right there, and everything's under the root. And then I'm multiplying x squared times x to the 4th power. When you multiply, you're going to add the exponents. So x to the power of 6. I'm going to come over here and simplify them separately. Square root of f, there's nothing I can do to simplify, so that's just square root of f. And square root of x to the power of 6. Okay, so to simplify square root of 550, we can do 5 square root of 22 right there. There's nothing I can do about that one. And when I simplify that, I have x to the 3rd power. We already explained on the previous video why this is true. I don't want to be repetitive. So now we're going to bring them all together. What's outside the root goes with another thing that is outside the root. So I have 5 outside the root, x cubed also outside the root. And now I have square root of 22 and also square root of f inside the root. So 22f right there. Last one. I wanted to have one with 2 numbers on the outside of the root. So we're going to multiply them separately. So 10 times 4, 40 right there. And I'm going to multiply what's inside the square root. So 2 times 2, 94. You have square root of 588. F times f squared. I have f to the 3rd power because you're adding the exponents. Okay. So let's see if we can simplify that 588. I can simplify 588 with 14 square root of 3 right there. So I already have this 40 over here, and now I will have 14 that comes from me simplifying square root of 588 as 14 square root of 3, and then square root of f cubed can be simplified as f square root of f. And we talked about this in the previous video. So we're just putting things together. Times f square root of f. Now we make this pretty. So 40 times 14 is 560 outside the root. I have this f also outside the root. And I have 3f inside the square root. This is my final answer. Bye.